webinar. We're very pleased to host the webinar today. It's a great opportunity for us to provide you with an overview of the recently launched Global Industry Alliance for Marine Biosafety. So today we will be talking about its objectives, the benefits of joining, and next step. So I'd like to start this presentation with this picture. This is the ocean we all want, right? This is what we want to see: pristine waters, beautiful colors, and preserved marine biodiversity. Unfortunately, this is what more and more we get to see. And divers would agree with me: bleached coral and diversity. So you know it, our oceans are under great pressure, and this is mainly because of three major stressors: marine biodiversity loss, climate change, and of course pollution. And with biofouling, the same three stressors are found. Biodiversity loss, of course, because of the risk of transferring aquatic invasive species via biofouling attached to moving structures. Climate change, with increased greenhouse gas emissions due to drag resulting from biofouling. This is mainly for ships. And of course, pollution, with the issue of anti-fouling chemicals released at sea. So good biofouling management is key to mitigate impacts on our oceans. But let's see what is being done to address biofouling issues globally. The International Maritime Organization set the standards for safety, security, and environmental performance of international shipping. And IMO has adopted international guidelines on biofouling management to actually address the risk of aquatic invasive species transfer. So the guidelines actually provide a set of recommendations on how to go about biofouling management in all its aspects. And it is directed to all interested parties and industries involved in implementation of these management measures. Now, in your opinion, to what structures are the guidelines applicable? We would like to test your knowledge. So we will have a poll asking you the question, and you will take some minutes or so, some seconds rather, to answer the poll. Meanwhile, I'd like to mention that the guidelines are currently under revision by IMO to make them stronger, to fill in certain gaps. And I can see that the answer is applicable to all. Yes, this is the correct answer, because actually the definition of ships in the guidelines is very wide, and it's applicable to almost any structure immersed or wetted. And typically only aquaculture structures are not covered by the guidelines. And by the way, there is no global guideline on aquaculture management of biofouling. So a little bit about the GloFouling Partnerships Project now, because this is the umbrella under which this GIA is being established. So this project was designed to boost the implementation of best practices when it comes to biofouling management, not only ships, of course, but also aquaculture. So the project is kind of filling this gap. It's the result of a global joint effort between the GEF, which is the Global Environment Facility, UNDP, the United Nations Development Program, and IMO, which is the executing agency for this project. We work with 12 leading countries which volunteer to champion the efforts, but in reality, our outreach is much wider. We have a second layer of countries benefiting from the project, and also through our 5 regional partners, what we call regional organizations, we're able to reach much more countries around the world. And we can always draw on the expertise of our 50 and more strategic partners to implement the technical activities we do under the project. So this is to provide countries with expertise and training and promote best management practices. We have 2 implementing partners to help us in this: the International Ocean Council, IOC UNESCO, and the World Ocean. So the question is now, how can the private sector contribute to solving this issue? And well, remember the 3 stressors we mentioned in the presentation, at the beginning of this presentation. We believe that the ocean-based businesses, what we sometimes refer to as the blue economy, has also a great interest actually in addressing these threats. Of course, because of compliance, but also for ships, for example, because of fuel efficiency, and in general for all structures, because of integrity, safety, performance of assets. So this is when the GIA, the Global Industry Alliance, comes into the picture. So this Global Industry Alliance is a platform of collaboration. We want this GIA to be the global platform of collaboration around biofouling management issues for all interested industries. So it is a very inclusive group. And the objective is, of course, to improve biofouling management practices, but to do this together by identifying common barriers and also a common solution. So, for example, we know that port practices, they vary across the world with respect to how to assess and how to manage the risk. And so what can we do about that? How can we improve the situation? And also, why is the GIA global? Well, we believe it has to be global because what solutions are developed or suggested by this group, this has to happen globally to avoid market distortions and also to ensure equal level playing field to all. So, as I said, the GIA was very recently launched. This happened online 2 weeks ago, basically, on the 8th of June, on the occasion of the World Ocean. We planned for a formal ceremony at IMO, but of course, because of the COVID outbreak, this was not possible. But we may still have a possibility to do it perhaps this year or next year. But anyway, the GIA is now formed officially and it can start its work. So who are the GIA members? Of course, from IMO via the GloFouling Partnerships Project. And from the private sector, we have 4 champions with us, 4 early movers. We have Clean Subsea, Eco Subsea, Hull Wiper, and Sunny Hull. And Clean Subsea and Hull Wiper are with us today and will present their perspective later on. So now I'd like to speak a little bit in more details about the benefit of joining the GIA membership, the GIA, sorry. And as you can see on this slide, there are many benefits of joining the GIA. So I'll get into a little bit more of details, starting with the sustainability aspect. Because of course you may want to join the GIA because as a company you want to reduce your environmental footprint, and especially if you have a company sustainability strategy or plan. And there is also an opportunity, of course, for companies that report on sustainability achievements to basically showcase their great work with GIA. And there is also reputational aspect because, as you know, positive reputation and credibility definitely helps with investors, clients, employees when you talk with regulators, etc. So it's an opportunity to enhance your sustainability performance. There is also a great opportunity for visible leadership because obviously the GIA is associated with a highly major project of IMO, which is the GloFouling Partnerships Project. And the GIA will be associated with some of the activities of the project, and the work is also going to be benefiting from our communication channels and when we promote activities and outputs of the project. Another interesting aspect, we think, is the possibility to share actually the GIA out, because this may also inform the work of IMO. The whole idea of this GIA is basically to bring around the table best expertise from the private sector to enhance biofouling management practices and also implementation. So potential solutions from the GIA may be shared to inform policy discussions at IMO. And as I mentioned earlier, the GIA is intended to be cross-sectoral by nature, and we do believe that this is one of the strengths of this group, because solutions can be identified within the shipping community, within the maritime community, but also outside it, and for the aquaculture sector notably. There are a lot of potential synergies there. Joining the GIA is also offers actually a great opportunity to access global networks, you know, to be exposed to this great global network, which in turn can also contribute to enhance biofouling management practices. Because obviously it's important to understand and to know more about who are key stakeholders in this field, what is their role, and how can they help. And this project has an extended global network, of course, within IMO and outside IMO. And networking can also take place during some of our events. For example, our R&D conferences, but also at other IMO and GloFouling meetings and events. As I said earlier, the project provides participating countries with technical expertise through training, demonstration project, and activities. So there is probably room here for the GIA members, for the private sector to contribute. And perhaps especially when it comes to pilot project and demonstration activity. Now, a little bit about costs. So the way it works is that costs incurred for the implementation of initiatives will be shared amongst members. So members will actually fully benefit from the outputs of these activities at a lower cost, obviously, compared to a situation where they would have been the sole provider of funds. And another aspect is that the project staff will be acting as a secretariat for the GIA task force, which means that myself, my colleague John Alonso, and the two other members of our team, Violeta Luque and Yorga Kononavite, we will be actually here to do the daily project management work. So just to give you an idea, the value of actually our time allocated to the GIA and work of the task force is estimated to around USD 50K per year. Now a little bit about resources and next steps. So in terms of resources available for the GIA to conduct its work, from the member side, the GIA is obviously funded by contributions from members in cash, and this amounts to USD 15K per year. In addition to in-kind contribution, of course, through the expertise that the GIA members provide, the staff time, services, etc. And from the IMO side, first we have made available for the GIA some seed contribution amounting to approximately USD 15K as a lump sum. And we will also be providing in-kind contribution through project management services, which I mentioned before, our time to actually manage the work of the task force. In terms of next steps, the first next step is to organize our first official meeting, so the first meeting of the task force with all the members. And we do hope that we will have more members joining soon. As for activities, we have already pre-identified as a potential activity the commissioning of a study or some work on the effect of drag caused by biofouling on the fuel consumption. And obviously a key immediate step and objective for us is to expand the membership and have a variety of stakeholders around the table. So this is it in a nutshell from me. So thank you very much for your time. I hope you know more about the GIA now. But I will now give the floor to two of our champions, two of our members, starting with the Clean Subsea. We have with us today Rory Anderson, COO of Clean Subsea, and then we'll have Simon Doran, Managing Director of Hellwiper. They will share with us their perspective and why they do. So Rory,
Hi Lilia, can you hear me fine?
We can hear you fine.
Good. All right. Thanks, Lilia, and congratulations too also on a great presentation. That was really terrific. You covered a lot of detail. Obviously, the main points of the GIA, the stressor points that we understand, and how the GIA is going to play a role in helping to address those things. and bring other people into the mix so we can have an effective group really working through collectively and collaborating on these challenges. It's very exciting. Clean Subsea too, I'd like to mention, is obviously very pleased to be joining the IMO GloFouling initiative under the GIA umbrella, you know, for Marine Biosecurity as a founding member. It's something that we're excited about and feel very privileged to have that opportunity. I'll just take a few minutes, if I may, just briefly. So why the GIA for Clean Subsea from our perspective? And I think a couple of things that are really top of mind for us, and there's probably a long list, but let me just focus on those couple of things. The first one really is around educating and spreading the word, getting the message out and getting people to understand truly what is biofouling management, what is responsible biofouling management, and how do we can go about doing that? What are the stresses? You talked about that, the biodiversity loss, the climate change, the chemical release from the biofouling paint itself. We continually find that we are needing to work through that process and explain to people, particularly in those markets, in those countries perhaps where it's not as developed and people aren't as across those kind of issues as other parts of the world. But the whole thing around introducing viable techniques, technologies, solutions, methodology of how to address those stresses is really key. And we think that the GIA can act as a really important platform in that regard and a voice to do so. You talked about global collaboration. We see that as being absolutely an important sweet spot for the GIA. In our case, Clean Subsea, simple example, I think many of you know we've developed EnviroCart technology, which is a complete clean capture and filter closed circuit system. And alongside that, we have, of course, our biopower software platform, which is like a blockchain ledger biosecurity passport for vessels across in international jurisdictions. Those technologies are just two examples, and that's just Clean Subsea's story. We've got our other fellow founding members who also have solutions and technologies in addressing these challenges. But that's just 4 companies with their own particular technology story. We really need other contributors. We need really a lot of other people involved who have their own expert understanding and also their experiences and their perspectives, which will be different, and add another component to how we start to really get a groundswell in this whole process. And then we can start to act as real change agents. That's something I think that is really needed in this particular sector. So from Clean Subsea's perspective, expectations around GIA deliverables, I've already talked about that educating process. You've also touched earlier on the issue around networking. That's something that's really important for us. Helps us, again, introduce the technology, helps us talk to other like-minded people, compare ideas, look at perspectives, and keep developing a real kind of groundswell approach to the whole issue of responsible biofouling management. One other issue too from us at Clean Subsea that we've found quite frustrating and challenging as we continue to work through introducing technology and solutions in this space is the lack of alignment and congruency between different jurisdictions. So I think policy development from our perspective is also going to be something that's important for the GIA to be able to be involved in and help shape and add input to. Right now, we see this as probably not greenfield, but brownfield. There's people that have been doing this now for some time and doing it effectively, but we really need to move it to the mainstream. We need people to adapt, to adopt, to pick up and engage in this process. And when we're able to do that, it's at that point that this whole initiative can really generate, I think, some significant progress and impact in helping to protect our environment, our marine environment, and help mitigate against climate change. From Clean Subsea standpoint, that's a really important process for us to be involved in which we have, we believe, technologies and solutions that can add and help and support that process. So again, from our perspective as a small company, startup technology in Perth, Western Australia, being a part of this kind of forum and this kind of association is really important, and we really look forward to being able to be a part of that effectively, proactively, and seeing the impacts that it has, the positive impacts it has on this space that we're talking about. Lilia, I'll leave it there. I'm hoping there's going to be questions later. I'd be more than happy to answer and contribute to the Q&A session a little later. Thanks so much.
I don't know if Lilia is speaking without realizing that she's got her microphone or her audio off.
Yes, I was. Yeah, sorry, I clicked, but definitely not not enough. So yeah, absolutely, Rory. This is one of the GIA objectives, to foster innovation and new effective technologies. So we are very happy to have you on board, and let's hear from Simon now. Simon, Managing Director of Hull Viper.
Simon, sorry, your audio is off. You have to switch on your audio. Thank you. There you are.
I'm shy. Okay, Lilia, thanks for that great presentation. Thanks to everybody that's signed in today. I'll cover our aspect in 4 bullet points. First one being why the GIA. It's the IMO. It's being part of a policy development. There's no point having a voice if you don't use it constructively. So we see as being part of the GIA is all part of being able to use our voice constructively. What are the benefits to being in the GIA? Obviously, for Hull Viper, it's exposure of us and our brand, but we're not doing it for exposure of us and our brand. We have a bigger picture. We see that we can participate and help, as been touched on the education of other industries and get more people involved. And this is what we want. We want to see that the GIA and the members are not just the chosen few. Like we see, we've got 12 countries. We don't want everything to do with the environment to be left up to New Zealand and Australia and America and the UK. We want everybody to be involved. This is a global thing. It's not a selective thing. You know, the oceans are there for everybody. And why did we join? I mean, I've always had a bee in my bonnet about ballast water, always about ballast water being the main vector that I haven't always agreed with. And I see that hull fouling on the outside of vessels or on structures has been one of the biggest vectors and may be the biggest vector of invasive species. So that's one reason. And we're a company on the front line, so to speak, along with other members. You know, we do hull cleaning. It's not rocket science. And because we're on the front line, we want to stay abreast of everything that's going on. We want a grade of understanding of what's going on and what's going to be required in the future. You know, what was required 200 years ago isn't what's going to be required now or going forwards. So being part of the GIA and being able to influence and develop policy as part of a team with other people from the industry, from aquaculture, you know, ship owners, oil and gas participants. This is what we want to see. This is what we see and how we see the future will be. And that's it. And we think this is all positive.
Thank you, Simon. Thank you, Rory. Thank you, Lilia. I don't know if, well, Simon has already his camera on. I switched it off. I don't know if the three of you want to be on camera, because I think now we will move on to a bit of a Q&A, a bit of a chat as well. We'll take some of the questions, I think, from the floor that we've already been receiving quite a few questions already in the chat. Before we start, let me just mention that if you're interested to join the GIA for more information, you can send an email to GloFouling@imo.org. You can see it there on the screen. You can find more information, of course, on the GIA concept on our website. You can see the address. Just go to the menu on GIA. We, of course, are available as well to give more details and even make a one-to-one sort of video chat or presentation as well to explain more in detail the concept. Of course, how this mechanic works, it's all companies that join the GIA will end up signing an agreement that we have already with all the other companies and, of course, with IMO. And we will move on from there. We can give more details. I think it's better directly to you if you're interested.
Just going to add maybe in that regard, an area which I mentioned before, which is of real interest for us again, is around policy development. And then as perhaps there is more clarity, more understanding and congruency between different locations and jurisdictions, from that, obviously environmental impact analysis and reviews are a part of typically. So I guess the point I was trying to make is that the GIA may indirectly over time be involved in I guess shaping that to some extent, but ultimately, obviously, it's up to the authorities and the regulators in each jurisdiction as to how that is properly managed.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's enough hull cleaning companies already members of the GIA. I don't think we will ignore this subject. I think this will be high on the agenda. I know from work that I'm doing with BIMCO on the hull cleaning standard, the intention of this standard is to present it to the IMO to run it alongside the GloFouling project. So hull cleaning and the impact on the environment is high on the BIMCO standard that's been written, and it will be high on the GIA.
John, can I add into that?
Of course.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I think Simon's point's a great point, and I'd like to emphasise again, also from Clean Subsea standpoint, that the impact on the environment is absolutely fundamental to the prescribed activity that we are doing, and was primarily, certainly in our case, and I believe in the cases of our fellow founding members, why the technologies that are now present and available and being used as to why they came about in the first place. I mean, certainly in Australia's case, I mean, you couldn't just go off and do in-water hull cleaning. As everyone knows, it was banned in '97. Things have changed in the last decade or so, but under very, very strict regulatory standards, which is based around thou shall not harm negatively the marine environment. So I would just emphasize the point that anything that we do, certainly from I would have thought in-water hull cleaning technology company standpoint, is very, very much front and center around, obviously not having a negative impact on the marine environment.
Thank you, Rory. That's a very good point. A bit related to this, I have a question of my own, of the team from GloFouling, actually, for both of you. I mean, maybe something to highlight is the cross-sectoral nature of the GIA. So, because this is really the first time that we sit at the same table, representatives from very diverse industries. I mean, it's not only shipping, but we're also looking at representatives from aquaculture, for example, or marine renewable energies. What kind of, I mean, taking this into account of what we've been speaking about of in-water cleaning, for example, what kind of benefit do you see from this kind of cross-sectoral interaction, perhaps?
If I may first, I think there's everything to gain by having all sectors of the marine industry sitting at the same table. I mean, I sat in Melbourne last year and I didn't really know much about the aquaculture industry, and I left there quite amazed. And I think the only way we're going to help everybody is if there's everybody sat at the table, whether it's a coating manufacturer, maybe whether it's an aqua fish farming people, doesn't matter who it is. I think we need everybody around the table, or elements of everybody around the table, from oil and gas, the offshore people, to the FPSO people, to even the people that are doing the outfalls for generating plants. We just need a cross section of everybody, and by listening to each other, we will be able to produce a better document that suits everybody and not the few.
Thank you, Simon. Rory, I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
I think Simon's spot on. I think the more cross section you have, if you think about what Lilia went through in the presentation and the principles of the concerns and the stressor points, I mean, that's not only applicable to the shipping industry, and therefore, obviously, some areas are more inclined towards issues and concerns in certain sectors than others, but the principal basis of what we're trying to achieve here, I think, is across the board, and therefore, obviously, to get contribution, input, and perspective from those other folks as well is really important for the effectiveness of the group.
Thank you, Rory. Speaking of shipping, well, we have a question from Frank Stuart Lauritsen from Denmark. So his question is, will GloFouling, well, I guess it's the GIA, promote a project on technologies for cleaning niche areas? Lilia, maybe you want to take that question.
Well, definitely cleaning of niche areas is definitely an issue when we talk about biofouling, and regulators are very concerned actually about this issue. And so this could well be a subject for the GIA, definitely. Well, I think the perspective of the GloFouling Partnerships Project, and also by having this GIA as part of the project, an important component of the project, is because we actually do recognize the importance of the blue economy, and we hear about the blue economy, the contribution of the blue economy. So we do recognize that, and we believe that there is a room to have a balanced approach between the contribution of the blue economy and also the concerns of the regulators as far as the protection of the ocean is concerned. So yes, I think the blue economy is definitely, and the concept around it is something we take positively, and we have as an objective to kind of try and find the right balance again between environment and economic development, which is basically the baseline, the basis for what we call sustainability and sustainable development.
Yes, it would be a bit like the concept of green in the blue, right? As we're hearing lately. Yes, ensuring that the blue economy is truly sustainable. I mean, a lot of the focus for development across developing countries and developed countries, it is a lot of focus on marine resources, the so-called blue economy. So it is ensuring that it is truly sustainable. Yeah, and that certainly is within the spirit, I'm sure, of, as we can see already, of the members of the GIA. So the next question, we have a question from Dave Adbo, also based in Australia, an old friend of ours. So Dave is asking, do the current members of the GIA have any thoughts on which other stakeholders or industry members they would like to see join the GIA to help achieve the goals, for example, improvement of policies on biofouling, etc. And moreover, has any thought been given to how to get smaller stakeholders on board who may not be able to accommodate the $15,000 sign up? So I think this is two questions. I think maybe we can give the first question on to both Simon and Rory, of what kind of thoughts you have on what kind of stakeholders, industry you would like to see, and then we can have the other question to Lilia, perhaps.
Okay, I mean, I think I covered it before with regards to stakeholders, in that I don't think we should exclude anybody. I initially thought we'd exclude legislators, but that probably wouldn't be good for my company. But I mean, I think we should probably include everybody. Anybody who wants to join, who can add value to the GIA, should be allowed to join. I don't think we're going to prohibit anybody from joining. The more the merrier. I mean, from scientists to legislators to ship owners. We just want a cross-section of the industry, the whole marine industry. Fishermen, harbour masters, it doesn't really matter where they come from. They have a voice and they will have an opinion, and they may well look at things differently to just a simple diver. So I just see everybody. The more the merrier.
Yeah, John, I just agree entirely with Simon. I mean, you want everyone, you want a cross-section of everyone that's involved in the sector, some which are more active and more directly involved, and I guess those others that perhaps provide services into the sector to an extent. So operators, owners, regulators, port authorities, I think all of those scientists, as Simon said, I think is really important. I think all of those kind of people and entities will add value. They'll bring different perspectives. They'll bring different, perhaps, views and ideas and ways of looking at things, and obviously bring specific expertise and experience as well, which is really important for the program to quickly, I think, get traction and credibility and start to spread the good word of what it is that we're trying to do, and to do that effectively.
Thank you, Rory. Lily, I don't know if you recall the other part of the question from Dave Abloh.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So as I said, the idea of having this GIA is to give a voice to the private sector. So all interested parties from the private sector to have a voice through this GIA, but not only a voice, to be able to tangibly contribute to advance biofouling management through project activities, studies. This is to be decided by the members of the GIA. Now, regarding the fees themselves, to speak frankly, the 15K, which is the amount that each member is required to contribute to, is very low. Just to give you an example, the sister project of GloFouling Partnerships, which was the GloBallast Partnerships Project. So some of you may have heard about this project, which was focusing on ballast water management. They had a GIA, and to be part of the GIA, members had to pay 50K, 50. And I can tell you, the staff of the GloBallast Partnerships Project, we have done a good job in convincing that this amount is too high, because it would, exactly as Dave Abloh is thinking, exclude some smaller stakeholders. So this is why we actually have a low fee, which is this 15K per year. And the idea was exactly that, to have a very reasonable contribution, to be able to allow smaller stakeholders to join and have a seat around the table.
Thank you, Lilia. Thank you, Rory, and thank you, Simon, as well, for your questions. We have one last question. Actually, we have several, but they're all essentially the same. So we have one question from both Frank Stover-Lauritsen and also from Kim Helge. They're both about hull cleaning technologies, obviously, but I think we can sort of rephrase it. So Frank is asking, do Clean Subsea and Hull Wipers see any other singular technologies emerging that can handle niche areas? And Kim was asking, do hull cleaning vendors study the effect of their service, and seeing the regrowth of biofouling after hull cleaning is very fast? So basically, I think is I mean, the spirit of both questions is: do you think that the GIA could consider as well, maybe perhaps a study regarding on performance of hull cleaning, or exploring as well technologies or processes that can sort of focus as well on niche, other areas such as niche areas, for example?
If you're happy, I'll start first.
Of course.
Okay. I think with new technologies, it requires investment, and we saw this initially with niche areas. Niche areas are not an easy thing to clean and capture, and it requires a certain amount of investment from industry to promote people to actually look at this. Hull cleaning, the general area, is a different thing. So I think we'll obviously look at it as a team to see if there are technologies out there that haven't been utilized or haven't got the opportunity for one reason or another. And regarding Kim's question, I think these studies are being done on a regular basis by the coating companies. I mean, I would say, having sat in and listened to warranty claims and things like this, the performance of a vessel and the performance of the effect of the hull cleaning on the vessel after the hull clean is done by the coating companies, be it through performance indicators or by coating samples. But coating companies are monitoring this all the time, just if nothing else, to outdo each other in the percentage saving they can offer. And that's me.
John, I'll maybe add just some comments as well on the two questions. So again, niche area cleaning is a specialised area and needs to be, we believe, included in the service offering, which is why we've gone to quite a lot of trouble and expense and, I guess, time to develop our system so it also does include niche area cleaning, and it's done quite effectively, where again we completely capture and contain and filter. So that's something that in our case we believe that we have been able to develop, but it is an area which I think does need further consideration. It is such an important part of a complete biosecurity clean or thorough clean, depending on the status and the circumstance of the vessel and where it's going and so on, of course. But certainly we get a lot of inquiries around just niche area cleaning vis-a-vis, for example, compared to the main hull structure. So certainly it's something that is important to people and to operators. Regarding reviews and comparisons, Simon's already talked about the paint manufacturers. We also know that there are certain associations, certain regulators in different jurisdictions and countries. In fact, our technology has been tested and trialled to look at the performance of it by other authorities, and basically they're working through a process of seeing how, from their perspective, in our case, our technology operates and how well does it operate and how well does it, perhaps compared to other options that are out there. Likewise, there's an initial review going on, and a number of people on this call are not only aware of it, but they're probably to some degree involved in it, or at least exchanging information and communications with people. But again, another review is being done, on the other side of the Pacific as well. So there is steps, there are processes in place for this to be looked at, and it has been actually executed against. The role of the GIA in that, I would have thought that it's an area in which the GIA would be interested to be able to support, and where it's appropriate, where it can do so, it can land input and thoughts and I guess guidance. Again, that comes back to the original question of having a wide, broad, rich in experience and expertise membership, so it can do something just like that and be able to continue to contribute in a number of different ways.
Thank you, Rory. Thank you, Simon. Yes, Rory, I think that you pointed out something quite important as well, that not only that it is important to have a wide range of expertise and industries involved in the GIA, but also as well that the GIA provides that opportunity for the GIA, for these private sector members to interact directly as well with other initiatives that are being taken, or research that's being taken by many of the academia, research laboratories as well, or even some of the governments as well are sponsoring quite a few initiatives. So it is a very good opportunity to provide input into those sort of initiatives that are being taken on.
So we do hope we have provided you with a good overview of the GIA and objective, of course, but the reasons why we believe more companies should join, and we want to have a more diverse group around the table as well, to be able to progress on a steady pace. I mean, it's easy if you're interested in joining, and I'm talking here to companies from the participants who are interested to join. It's easy, just reach out to us and we'll explain what is the mechanic of joining. And we are also, of course, available to organize one-to-one sessions with specific companies to explain a little bit more how the whole thing works and how to join. So yes, with this, thank you very much. I think that we can say that this has been good, and we will have another webinar on the same subject, this time with two other members of our GIA, EcoSubsea and Solihull, and this is going to take place on the 2nd of July at 5 p.m.
Thank you very much, Lilia. I don't know, thank you very much, of course, from behalf of the whole GloFouling team, to Simon Doran and to Rory Anderson. You've been very kind to participate and be available here to discuss as we want to give you your input, which I think is very good on what the GIA means to you and your companies. I don't know if you want to say any closing words.
I think my closing word is thank you. You know, it's an honor to be part of this, and let's just see how it develops. I hope, as I said earlier, you know, everybody has a voice. It's up to you whether you use it constructively or not. So we hope that this is a platform for us to all be constructive. Thank you.
Likewise, I think Simon's hit the nail on the head. We just encourage people to seriously consider joining and look at the, I think the benefits for everyone. It's a win-win, you know, for the GIA and for the member joining. Lilia put up a long list of benefits on one of her slides of membership, and there's a lot of them, and they're significant. So I think people should carefully consider, understand, be a part of a process which is really important and which is going to make a big significant change, and contribute in that way.
Thank you, Simon. Thank you, Rory. And thank you, Lily, of course, for taking the lead and doing the presentation. Thank you very much. Well, to all of you, as Lilia mentioned, we have another session of this webinar. It's available as well, especially for the Americas. But those of you that are in Europe or are willing to wake up very, very early in other parts of the world, we will explain again a bit the concept of the GIA. We will have two different members of the GIA in that webinar. We're going to have EcoSubsea and Solihull. So the managing directors are going to be taking part in the chats that will follow the presentation. And that's all for you for now. Of course, here you have the team of the GloFouling Partnerships. We are really hoping to give support to the GIA and to other projects related to biofouling. Of course, we have our website, and very important, the email. Do write to us for any question, any question you may have on how to join the GIA or any clarification. We are very happy, as we said, to provide it to you, and of course to provide you a more detailed explanation and one-to-one presentation on this concept. And that's it. Thank you all. Thank you very much from London. Keep safe, and thank you for attending.